New Wave Community Media.
It's just J-Mike.
Hey, Neffy.
Hey, Corey.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Just kidding. Do you remember like that era?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
super like, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Subscribe below. What was the other like? Comment below.
Comment below. Hit the bell.
So, do you remember when our son did his first YouTube?
Yeah, that's true. He was doing that for a while.
So, just to let our listeners know, he was young, but it was on my phone and it was my account. But he did a video where he was like, "Hi everyone," like, and he said the channel name. It's like, "Welcome back. Today's question is, what is like 875 times 303? Comment below." And that was it. And the funny part is like, there was, I think, 2 people that commented.
They were actually like trying to figure it out.
So, and that was the whole video, but that's I remember that very vividly.
Oh yeah.
So today I have something exciting in store for you for our listeners.
I like where this is going.
It's going to be a little knowledge, a little teaching, a little interesting things. So
okay. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Welcome back again, everyone, to another episode of Everything But Perfect. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to start off like we normally do with our Chit Chat Challenge. And I have a good one. And it's funny because we always say that, right? We always have a good one, but they're all good. So today's Chit Chat Challenge is, what is something that you have been waiting for that you are ready to accept into your life?
Oh, wow. I think this one, you really got to dig deep to really...
Oh, this one. Yeah. This was not even just a little chat. This is like, okay, we're going to stay at this coffee shop for like till closing. And then after we're going to like...
Continue it.
Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah.
Well, we challenge you to ask this question and see what comes out to the person you're asking.
Yes, let us know. So... I'm a little nervous. I don't know why, but it's because I'm excited about this. And it's something that I've been learning and I talked to you a little bit about, and I think we're ready to share to our listeners. Now, disclaimer, I am not a professional. I am not an expert. This is a very watered down version of what this topic is about. And I do encourage everyone that is interested into dig a little deeper, do your own research, okay? Because it's so vast that even if I knew a lot, I'd still wouldn't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk today about human design. Do you know what that is?
I've kind of heard a little bit about it. I know it has to do with like your date of birth, the year, and even narrows it down to the time you're born. And based on all of that, it kind of gives you what your human design is. Right.
And yes, you're completely right. I've heard about this. Mm-hmm. I've heard about it for a while, but me being me, I'm like, whatever. No, I have this fear of being like part of a cult. So I very often I'm like very weary about things. So I don't go full in. I'm like, okay, let me see from like far away. Let me observe and stuff like that. So I heard about this a couple years ago and I was like, okay, here we go. Another crazy thing, right? Did not pay any attention to it. I was just like, it is what it is. And it resurfaced again, maybe like a year ago. And I was like, okay, like interesting, but I'm still not fully like into it. And it resurfaced again, maybe like 3 months ago. And so that's when I fully was like, okay, let me see what this is about. And when I tell you that my jaw was on the floor when I started looking into it, and when I actually went on and fully like applied it and saw what it was, I was like, oh my gosh. So, but let's start from the beginning. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay. So what is human design? So it's described as a holistic self-knowledge system. Okay. Because it combines astrology, the Chinese I Ching, Judaic Kabbalah, Vedic philosophy, and modern quantum physics.
Wow.
Okay.
Really?
Yes. And just a little bit of each of those things so that you kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
So the I Ching, it's an ancient Chinese book that contains spiritual guidance and inspirational insights and universal wisdom. So this is said to be like 5,000 years old or whatnot. And so it's what I've read is that it's like a book, but I don't know if it's just like, a regular book,
Right.
It's has like that wisdom and those
Kind of like a teaching.
inspiration. Yeah. And it's been followed for lots of years in Chinese culture. Then the Judaic Kabbalah is there. Those are Jewish teachings that explain the relationship between God and the universe.
Okay.
Okay. And again, I have not gone down those
The
rabbit holes to fully learn about them. I'm very intrigued, and hopefully one day I get the chance to. But here, that's why I said it's a very watered down version. The Vedic philosophy, and then that's a collection of ancient texts that contain many philosophical concepts from Hinduism. And of course, astrology is, astrology.
Yeah.
And then modern physics, which I wouldn't even know how to explain, but modern physics. And so all those combined is what is essentially human design.
And it's very interesting because if you think about it, it's pulling from multiple sources, so it's not like one of those things that like, one section will say, this is what it is. It's pulling from different ones. And it's part of it is because it's spiritual,
Very
spiritual, some a little bit of religious in there, but I also put religious with spiritual kind of like under the same umbrella. They're different, but similar. And then modern day physics, like that's something like tangible that like you could do research on. So it's very interesting that it
and in astrology, which could also be considered a science, right?
Yeah, exactly. But science or both. I feel like astrology could be both science and also like spiritual as well.
Right?
So
yeah, exactly.
Very interesting that it encompasses both.
Sorry, my chair is squeaky, but we'll make do. So that is what essentially human design is. What is the purpose of human design, and why would anyone want to utilize it? So human design aims to help people understand the purpose in life and who they really are. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, whoa.
I know.
Like, it's like that one question, like, what is our purpose?
Yeah.
You can find your purpose.
True.
Like, you can get that answer, that question finally answered. But it's essentially like based on the idea that we grow up, right, in society, and society will mold us to be a certain type of individual or a certain type of being within our communities. So, I mean, just if you think off the top of your head, right, our culture, the American or the American culture is different than Chinese culture and Japanese culture and stuff like that. But that is because we grew up here, we were born here, and that is what molded us.
Okay, I see.
However, that's not how it should be. So human design helps us kind of discover who we are as individuals.
Okay. So that's why it takes your birthday, the year, the time, because all of that is individuality.
Right.
It's very rare where you're going to have two people with the exact same numbers or dates and all that stuff.
Yeah. And locations and stuff like so.
So it includes location.
Yeah. So there is, when you go online, and I'll give the information at the end if anybody's interested, but it's essentially like you will get a chart of your human design, but you'll enter your name, you enter your date of birth, the time that you were born, and the location as specific as you can. So if you're born at 4:15, put 4:15. If you're like, oh, I was born like around 5 in the morning, okay, just put 5, or if I was born at night, you could do like the PM, but the more detailed that you are, it's going to be most accurate. And so once you get that information, you're going to be given your own personal, unique human design.
Okay.
And what it does is it it's divided up into 5 categories. I say more 4 because one of them is like a hybrid of 2.
Okay.
But those categories are essentially your energy types. And then those energy types are what drives you to be the person that you're supposed to be.
So it's more like what you're, I don't want to say destined, but what you're supposed to be, not what you are right now.
Right. Yeah. Not what
was molded, what you can become because of a mold.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Not because your mom wanted you to be a doctor. No, maybe you're supposed to be meant something else. And I'm telling you, like, a lot of this is just very surface level. It takes a while to kind of dig deep. And I have my own human design chart, and I've again barely scratched the surface. But I mean, that's more than enough for me right now.
So, real quick question on that chart that you said, how many pages is that? Like, is it just like a 1-pager and that's all it is, or is it like kind of like when you do the actual human design that you receive?
So of course, unfortunately, right? Again, these things, people, it's just, I feel, unfortunately, the society we live in, you have to pay, to obtain the full report.
Okay.
With the descriptions of what everything means. Because you're going to look at a chart and it's going to be more or less it doesn't even look like you're like a regular human body. It's like a torso kind of, and then a head that's more like round. And then within that, there's a lot of little sections. And then within those sections, there's numbers. But those sections are divided, like one you'll have more like towards your head, where your head would be, and then towards your chest, your section like that.
Okay.
But each of those is a different category, and each of those categories has a different like numerology, if you will. Okay. And then each numerology means something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so once all of that's calculated, that this chart should or will be able to show you like your specific intuition, how your specific intuition works, your personality type, even to how you're supposed to eat.
Really?
Like what is good for you? What are your challenges? There's a specific one that's like a gift. So it's your primary gift, or they're called gates, being considered a gift, and that means something. And so it's like, I feel bad because I don't think I'm giving it enough justice. Like I can't even fully explain it, in just like this. I'd have to sit with you and be like, okay, this is what this means.
Okay.
But that's what it's meant to show you.
Okay.
And so you are the biggest thing that you're going to see is your energy type. And that is divided into, like I said, 4 to 5 categories. But the energy will show you how you are designed to interact and exchange your energy with the world around you. Now, you and I, we've talked about this, right? How like through our awakening journey, we're like, we are energy. We are beings of energy. And I think sometimes it gets thrown a lot like, especially right now, there's that trend like, oh, what is my aura? Or how many points did my aura score if I did this like that, And so there is truth to that. It's just being taken to the extreme and made fun of, and like just to garner popularity. But it is all about your energy. And so the 5 energy types, I'll list one, but I'm not going to really go into one just because I feel like, again, it's more of a hybrid. But the different energy types that you're going to see, depending on what you get, it's going to be a manifester. The hybrid one is manifesting generator. And then there's the generator. So projector and reflector. And each one of us, once we input that information, what you will, based on that, you will get an energy type.
Okay.
And I am a generator. In the beginning, I was like, what is a generator?
Yeah.
But before I go into that, let me tell you what was the reason that I actually decided to look into this finally after having it like being exposed to it, right? I was, again, we've been very open about our her healing journey and trying to be the best version of ourselves. And through that, there's a lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of new things that you're learning about yourself. And although it's good, sometimes it's bad because you're seeing things that you're like, oh my gosh, how do I process this? How do I understand this? Like, what does this mean? Like, okay, I used to be that person, but now I feel different. Like all these things that you're like, what is going on? Right.
Yeah.
I've always been one that I've always been passionate about helping others. That's been my one true goal, I feel. And so in everything that I've done, I'm like, okay, how can I help others? If I'm here, now I can help you get here if this is where you want to be. Or I'm here, how am I helping my community? And again, I've always wanted to help the Latino community because that's just, that's my people. And I was stuck. I was stuck in this space where I was like, I've done okay. I've done well for myself, but I want more. I don't feel satisfied. I don't feel fulfilled. And, I'm very blessed to have a job. I'm blessed to have my family and, a home and everything that we have, but it was still that something was missing. And again, right, like I said, because of this healing and growth journey, it can get very kind of dark at times.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in the right mindset, you can start, okay, well, now I'm being ungrateful because I have all of this and I'm still not fulfilled. Like, why do I want more? Right.
Yeah.
But that's just how I felt. And through my growth, I've learned that every emotion is valid. At whether, I'm mad, angry, sad, they're valid. And I should let those be, feel, and then let them go. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this instance, I was at work and my job is very monotonous. Okay. I work from home. I don't interact with a lot of people. And so at times it gets very boring, especially for me, because I feel like I'm a creative person. So I'm not doing that. I'm just, punching in numbers and letters and stuff. So I took a break and I was like, let me go on TikTok. Now,
good old TikTok.
I have to be careful because sometimes I'm like, oh snap, I'm still working because I'll just scroll and scroll. But I was working on a project that I've been very passionate about for a long time, and I finally was like, okay, I need to start working on it, and slowly but surely I have. And as I was scrolling, somebody was on a live, this creator, and they said something specific to what I needed to do for my own project. So I was like, perfect. Let's listen to this. She was talking about publishing. And I listened and I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's good to hear what the point of other people that who have already gone through that. And she brought on somebody else to the live.
Okay.
Like a friend. And then they're like, yeah, she was like, oh, this is my friend. Like she's a business owner. She's a this, she's like pretty much like what you would think of a successful person. And then she was saying how like, oh, I'm also working on this on the side and I can't wait to show you. And they were very like motivational individuals because they were saying things and they were doing it. Right. And I was like, wow, like I was intrigued. And all of a sudden I wrote a comment and I said, how can you guys do all these things? Like I have so many ideas, but I can't fully get them like fulfilled or realized, it's, I'll come up with something and then I'm like, okay, like,
yeah.
And then I get stuck. And, she said, oh, you should look into your human design. She's like, because once I started looking at my human design, I knew what I was good at and what I wasn't, what I was meant to do and what I was not meant to do.
Wow.
And I was like, huh? Which, okay, led me to this conversation now.
Yeah.
Right? I looked into it and I was like, wow. So that is how I ended up here talking to you about human design. What I learned was that, in fact, I was doing the wrong things. That is why I wasn't getting anywhere with my ideas.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm a generator. And this is what a generator is. Generators, they respond to life through decision making from the sacral, also known as the center. They don't chase, but rather wait to respond to life as it comes to them. And they honor what the sacral responds to. And now, do you mind talking a little bit about the sacral chakras and what they are, just for those of us that may not be aware of it?
Yeah, definitely. And once again, we're still learning a lot of this stuff. So we're, it is very, I would say in a way basic or, like surface level. So definitely if this resonates with you, do your research, because there's a lot of research out there, and just be careful too, because there's a lot of, random stuff. But yes. So pretty much like when you talk about chakras, chakras are energy centered in the body that are believed to be spinning wheels or discs of energy that life force flows through.
Like, so energy.
Correct. So so it's energy. And in central, like, depending where you see it or who you ask, there's multiple chakras. The main one that people talk about, there's 7, but sometimes I've come across like certain articles and they say there's up to like 15. So
and these 7 are the ones that, like, for example, the teachings of yoga, the practices of yoga will focus on, right?
Yes, like yoga, meditation. There's a lot that has to do with meditation. You could think about a certain chakra to clear it. And the other thing too, like I said, it's energy. And if you look it up, you just look up like chakras, they'll show you that they're like aligned to your body, right? So like the first one is like the root chakra. So that one's kind of starts like kind of where like below your belly button, right? So that's kind of like the root. The second one goes above that. It's kind of more like on your stomach or your belly button. It's called the sacral chakra. And then right above that, which is kind of where your stomach is, that's called the solar solar plexus chakra. And then the next one above that is your heart chakra. And then where you could guess where that one's at. And then you go higher, is the next one is the throat chakra. And the one above that one is the third eye. So that one's kind of more like in between your eyes. There's your third eye. And then the final one is the crown one, which is on top of your head. So a lot of times you hear about people saying, oh, my chakras are unaligned and things like that. So whenever you're not aligned, things tend to be kind of,
energy's off.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why a lot of time people say, oh, I need to recenter or align myself. You're aligning those chakras. And you could do it different ways. Like, for example, if you're having problems like speaking to, say, for example, to your partner, or you can't say certain words, or, you're scared to say something, and for whatever reason you can't speak it, then that means that your throat chakra is probably some way blocked. So you have to do, work to really unblock it and realign it so you're able to speak it. Correct. And each chakra has different things, for example, like the third eye, you could say if your third eye chakra is blocked, you're not really seeing the opportunities. You're not seeing certain things. So you have to realign it so you can see those. Like in business, like, referring it back to business, if your third eye is blocked, you're not going to see those opportunities. You're not going to see those clients. They might be right in front of you, but since it's blocked, you're not going to see them. Yeah. So once you align, reset, then you're able to see those certain things. And each of them have different things.
Right. So, and then this is kind of like what I was saying earlier, how it pulls from different, teachings, right? This is more like Hinduism, the chakras. So that's what generators, they focus on the sacral, right? And I'm go a little bit more deep into this one because obviously that's who I am and that's what I was looking up. Yeah. But the other energy type is manifestors, and they are the initiators of the world, and they get new things done or started. They thrive with freedom and autonomy. They do not do well in overly controlled, micromanaged environments, right? And so, as you know, some people hate being micromanaged. They hate it. And so, who knows, maybe it's because they're manifestors, right? Then we have projectors. They have the ability to see energy dynamics and patterns in others and experience people in unique ways. And reflectors. They are like mirrors. They reflect the health of their environment and people in it. They can understand people and systems deeply and accurately. Okay, so again, that is a very watered down explanation of each of those energies, because there's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
But specifically for generators, and this is what I found interesting, is that they say that a big chunk of the population are generators. So, about 60 to 70%. And they are characterized because they are the ones that kind of make the world go round, if you will.
Okay.
And so one of the characteristics that I said was like the sacral response, right? So that center. And one of the interesting things that I learned was that generators, they only act based on response.
Based on response. Okay.
Right. So they respond to the world. They don't go and, unlike manifestors, they don't go and create it. They don't go and invent it. They respond to what's already there. And then so once that response, again, comes from the sacral chakra, that is how they function. Okay. So interestingly enough, in my, like in my little story I was telling, I have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Right. And I always got stuck in initiating them. It was always that. Yeah. It was always, I have this beautiful thing in my mind. And I was like, how do I start it?
Yeah.
And, for example, I've thought of
Actually, can I tell this story?
Okay.
And I like to say it because there's a twist to it at the end. And it's interesting you say that because obviously I've known you for a long time and I see that, you have these visions and kind of like we were talking before, like you see it 10 years down the road, but it's hard for you to kind of see, okay, how did it start? Right. So it kind of encompass that. And I think one of the things that always sticks out to me is you've been having this idea about positivity, about sharing stories about people, right? And one of the biggest ideas that you had, and I feel you had it like years ago, and I think it was even pre-COVID, like you had this idea of, and you didn't even know if it was a podcast, if it was going to be a storytelling, a book, or YouTube channel. You didn't even know what it was, but your whole thought process was telling stories of people, and specifically, is it okay if I say it?
Sure.
Specifically undocumented people, you wanted to tell stories, and not even just that, it was just more about positive, right?
Yeah. The highlight of it, in especially in the time that we are right now, the inaccuracies and the lies that are being told about this specific community is profoundly because there's so much ignorance about them.
Yeah.
Because this is a very vulnerable population that cannot afford to be out in the open saying this is who I am.
Yeah.
And so then all these things come on and nobody knows exactly what they're about. But you sit down with these individuals and they're like amazing, inspiring, like beautiful people.
Yeah. And the whole point of this is to bring positive light out there. So I remember, especially during COVID, you had that idea. You're like, I want to do something nice. And I remember I think we came up with like a title. You didn't know what it was. And it was like Once Upon a Positive.
Yes.
Remember? I was like, dude, that's awesome. Let's do it. And, and you're like, yeah. And then the crazy thing is this was like before the pandemic. And then all of a sudden during the pandemic, what happened?
And then the pandemic happened, right?
And so
then I remember I was like, oh my gosh, like it's needed even more because there was so much negativity. Like, people were staying at home, like all these bad things were happening. So I was like, it's needed even more.
Yeah. And then ironically, we watched The Office a lot, and the actor that plays Jim, his name is John Krasinski. Sorry. He actually created a segment called, what was it called?
I think it's called Some Good News.
Yeah, Some Good News. And it was just a quick, like, I think 5-minute
video.
Yeah, 5-minute, like, quick clips. And I think it started, like, on, like, Good Morning America. It was, like, the last 5 minutes of, like, the show or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
He was from home.
Yeah, but it was just that. And it was crazy because when we saw it, I was like, he stole your idea. Because that's all it was. He would just go on there and tell a good story. And he would just...
Positive story.
A positive story. It was like, and that's why it was called Some Good News, because it was something positive, something uplifting, and it worked, And the crazy thing, like, he did it for, like, I forgot how, like, he did it for a certain amount of time, and then I think he, like, kind of stepped away from him. But I think the channel, whoever company kept it going. So it became something like ongoing. But I just remember saying like, that was your idea.
Yeah.
You had that idea years before even that started. So it kind of goes back to that you have these ideas, but you don't know where to start it.
Right. But it was because I was looking at it in a different way. Right. I didn't know what I don't know. But why do I have these ideas is because I respond to my environment. Right. So I grew up undocumented. I grew up not being able to tell my story authentically. And so, as an adult now, I've come across people and it's the same thing. They cannot be who they are. They can't be themselves. And I responded to that by saying, wait a minute, like now I want to tell these stories. I want to share this information. And that's where I get stuck. But this is what human design showed me. It was like, okay, like it's not me just, I can't do it. It's not me like I shouldn't do it, or, it's not for me, or like, it's not that. It's that I need to like, I'm not meant to initiate it essentially.
Right.
I am meant to respond to it. And my response is going to be based on technically my gut feeling. And it's simple as that. I think for specific generators is like, if somebody asks you a question or somebody comes up to you and says something and you're like, my gut says no, that's it. Simple. No, I'm not going to partake. I'm not going to participate. Yeah. If you come up and you're showing me something and I'm like, I'm excited. I'm intrigued. Boom. Like it's a response. And there's my decision. Yes, I'm going to help you with that, or I'm going to be part of that. So which I found like really interesting, and
so pretty much it kind of goes into like not that you, like you said earlier, not that you can't do it or don't want to do it or don't have the tools to do it. You're just not designed to do that.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what it is. And so a lot of these things, I just wasn't, I was on the right track more or less, but there was still a lot of missing things in there. So I couldn't just go through with it. And that's one of the biggest things that I learned as I went into this like human design thing is that, wow, like, okay, that makes sense for me. There is also a part where they, let me look a little bit. Let me read this before I go into that. It's like the purpose of generators. And I'm reading this off just the humandesign.com website, which is where I got the chart. It says generators hold the unique purpose of generating energy and satisfaction. Their role is to respond to what life presents and immerse themselves in activities that resonate with their true selves. This means that when you align your actions with your desires, you create a ripple effect of energy that empowers not just yourself, but also those around you. Embracing this journey gives you the opportunity to share your gifts with the world. Right. And what I think my biggest takeaway is that, we truly are unique. And I often found myself frustrated with a lot of things in my life. And now I can look back and I'm like, okay, I wasn't crazy. It wasn't me, throwing a fit or anything. It was just like, I just didn't belong. I wasn't designed to do that. And then this happens a lot with jobs. With jobs, there was always something about that. I was like, I'm still searching for the perfect job, which I know now what it is. It's just, I am not ready to step into that just yet.
Right.
But that's like this whole human design like experience for me has been very like eye-opening. And so it is so detailed that it goes into like how a generator or any energy type is with relationships. It can even tell you, okay, this energy is going to be best in these type of careers, in these types of environments. I haven't even touched like the digestion and food part, but there's a whole section on that too, like how you are distinctively like supposed to be eating and your digestion patterns. And, on my chart, like my highest sense is taste. And again, I haven't delved deep into that part yet, but it shows you that. And it shows you also, I think I had mentioned it, but there's a gift. And let me briefly pull up my chart. It shows you, like your most important gift. And that's going to be, it's going to say gift and then a number.
Okay.
And so, mine is gift 13. And I looked into this yesterday with you, and I was shocked to say the least, because again, like I said, I don't want to be part of a cult. And so I walk a very fine line with this, but I can't deny the fact that it's true, that it has so much truth to it. And it describes me down to like the T, if you will.
Yeah.
My gift is that of listening and storytelling. Okay. Essentially, it boils down to that.
Wow.
I did not know this, pre-pandemic, when I wanted to tell stories.
Right.
I didn't know this when I used to do my creative writing class, and I was like, I just writing stories and poems. I didn't know this when I wanted to write a book about my family and tell their stories. So learning all this has been like insane.
Yeah.
Because that's why I know that that's where my passion is. And so that's why when I sit at my desk and I'm like, oh, this is the most boring job in the world, and I see some of my coworkers are like thriving, but for me, I'm like, this is not it, because that's not what I'm meant to do.
Right.
And so, that.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was like, that gift is, and again, it's divided into so many little categories that you're going to go ahead and explore. And not everything's going to be accurate for yourself. I think, that's what it is. But a good chunk of it is you're going to be like, wow.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that you say that because it's within you, it is who you are. That's the way I take this out think about it, that it is who you are. And it's interesting because, like you were saying, for your job, your career, you were trying to go into jobs that helps people. That you've been in the medical field, and what's the medical field? It's helping people, right? But it wasn't probably, and it isn't the way to help people.
Yeah.
So in your mind, in your feeling, in your heart, in your gut, you knew that's what you wanted, but you haven't found it of how to do it.
Yeah.
So even though you don't know it, it's still in you.
Yeah, it's still in me. And the interesting part is, like, I remember as a young child, there was one time where I wanted to be a police officer. And then the rest of the time I was like, I want to be a journalist. And that's what it was. And it stayed there. And so when I went to school, I was like, I'm going to do journalism. And I didn't do specifically journalism. I did communications. But it's very similar because I want to do, I majored in broadcasting communications specifically for TV and radio, because I was like, that's what I want to do. I still wanted to work in the news.
Right.
And I had that, but even back then I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just had this feeling. And unfortunately, society kind of took over, and it was more like, well, no, I'm a mom. I can't work those hours, or, I need to do this because that's what society says it's right. And that job is maybe not for me. And I strayed away from it and ended up in a whole completely different path. But now I've realized it's taken me right back to where I was supposed to be, in a different form, but it's still in the same.
Yeah.
Still one in the same. And yeah, so the gift of the 13 is the gift of listening. And when you think about it, like, if I listen, I'm going to listen to your story. I'm going to listen to what you're telling me. Then I'm able to respond to it. That's what I do as a generator. I respond to my environment and to my people. So that's how then I can either help out or be like, okay, this person is not for me. That's why I can like cut people off. I can like, know who I want to be surrounded with, because I'm able to listen, and then that in turn I can respond accordingly. So that's been interesting. And what's another thing if I could remember? Oh, like my career paths. It says that with my qualities, I would be a good, I think some of the careers are like counseling, therapy, coaching, or other helping profession. And, all of those having what's therapy, listening, counseling, listening, as a medical assistant, I listen to your complaints about your health. I'm like, okay, then I would go and tell the story to the doctor. And then, so it's all intertwined in somehow, some way. And trust me, because I've tried to be like, okay, wait, no, this can't be right. And that's what it led to me. Okay, I was a medical assistant. I was helping.
Yeah.
I was listening. I was telling stories. And when I look at it and look at all my jobs, I'm like, man, like,
yeah.
But it's those things that you don't know until you know it.
Right.
Then alongside with the gifts, that's the main gift. And then you're also given a whole bunch of other gifts. So I think I have like a total of, I don't know, like 12 or something. And each one of those is different.
Right.
It tells you environments, what environments, like you thrive in. Mine says valleys. Again, my strongest sense is taste. Sorry. My strategy is responding. And my authority, so the way that I make decisions, emotional solar plexus is attached to that. Again, I don't know that aspect yet. I'm just saying it. But the not self theme is essentially a category in there. And mine says it's frustration. So I looked into that, and what it is essentially the challenge that you'll have as your energy type. For me, I realized that it's frustration. And why is it frustration? Do you want to share that part, or you want me to?
No, you go for it.
Because now I learned that I cannot just go and create stuff. I need to wait for a response, right? I need to wait for something to happen. I find myself frustrated because I'm not patient. So if I'm designed to wait for the right person, the right moment, the right time, but I'm not patient, like, of course I'm gonna be frustrated the majority of the time. That's, and so I was like, wow. I think yesterday I even cried reading these things, because I'm like, this is exactly explaining who I am.
Yeah.
And now that I know these things, I'm like, okay, like I can work around it and do what's best for me and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And just a quick thing that I'll share is that I've decided, I finally, my biggest idea, like you just said, was the storytelling of the specific population that I'm passionate about. And I've tried different ways. I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to do it that way. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. It comes back to it. Years. This is years of me thinking this leads me back to the same thing. And I realized it only because I unintentionally, because I didn't know, I was unaware that I responded to something, right? I responded to environment again on social media. There was a post, and then they were like, oh, there's a healing circle for undocumented people or former undocumented people. So I said, and it said, sign up, right? But you don't just sign up. They asked you, okay, why do you want to come? What could you bring? Right. And so just because it's a very vulnerable population.
Yeah.
And I filled it out. I'm like, oh, maybe they'll accept me. Maybe they won't. Maybe I don't know. And they were like, okay, come on these days. So I went there, and essentially I was like, I'm again with the mindset of I'm going to help my people. I went in there, and that experience ended up helping me. But I've met people there, and I realized the importance of storytelling and knowing who we really are. And the world cannot change if we don't know who we are. And so I responded to that by then now starting to work on this new project of mine that is going to be the telling of the storytelling of these individuals in a very like important and particular way. People share their stories all the time, right? But for me, this is unique, and nobody's going to do it the way I'm going to do it.
Right.
So that's what's special about it. But I only got there because I responded to it. I responded to the world. I responded to this post. I responded to the individuals in that group. And like, even as I say it now, it's like, it's so hard to believe, but it's the truth. And so, when you look into human design, you're going to see a lot of things. Oh, it's a false, it's fake. It's like not real. You be the judge of that.
Yeah.
You can be the judge of that. And if you go on there and you try it and it's completely fake and it's like, well, maybe it's just not meant for you.
Right.
I doubt it. Because I have yet to find someone that's like, that's no, unless you put an incorrect date, right? Like if you're like way off on your birthday or, it's not going to be accurate. But if if you have that information, as accurate as possible, you're going to get something that's going to be exactly who you are meant to be. And it's going to allow you then to go out into the world and live that best life. A lot of us get stuck and frustrated and we're like, depressed and have all these things because maybe it's because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
We are stuck sometimes again in what society tells us, you got to pay this. Okay, just go get that job. I got this job. Now what? Now I'm unhappy, but at least I can pay my bills. When in reality, there is a version of you that can be paying your bills and that can be happy at work, can be happy at life with your relationships, with anything. We just have to find it.
Yeah.
And this could be that way that you can look into it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's super exciting. I know that I've done kind of you helped me do my human design and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, like, just like you said, it is kind of crazy. Prepare yourself, just prepare yourself. You're going to learn a lot from yourself. You might learn things that you didn't know, or you might even get clarification on things that you're like, that's why I'm like this,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Go in it with open eyes. It's funny that this happened because in this episode, we're actually going to talk about both of us, but it's just so in depth. And like, again, this is surface.
This is so surface level. That's why, to your point, we're going to be doing a second episode, part 2 of your human design.
Yeah. So next episode is going to be me. You'll help me with that and we'll dive into it. And let's see what it says about me. I'm excited. I have read some stuff. So I am excited. A little nervous, but we'll see. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this is who you are and who you're designed to be.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised what you'll find.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you are interested in this topic, it's as simple as a Google. Pretty sure you can clear the fake pages and the nonsense and try to get something more concrete and accurate for you. So do your research. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We can help you as much as we can with the limited knowledge that we know, but we encourage you to look into it and see what you find. Anything else?
No, I think I'm excited. Not to sound like that, but I'm excited to see what it says about me and really dive into it, because when we're doing yours, like, we're like, yes. Yeah. So can't wait for the next episode.
Definitely. So make sure to tune in next time for part 2 of the human design experience with Neffy's chart. And so thank you for listening. And until next time, remember, love is an endless adventure. So cherish your connections and keep those conversations flowing.